All right, welcome to the studio. Today we got Cardell Cole. How you doing?
Hello.
So, tell me about top two before we kind of get into some character design.
All right. Top two is based in the world of my own making. It's a fantasy action genre. To give an example, I'm a huge fan of like mangas like Naruto, Bleach, One Punch Man. I'm also a huge fan of certain American comic books. One in particular is Battle is it yeah, Battle Chasers. Um
Mm, that's a good
and
one.
so oh yeah, that's a good one. And so like I pretty much came up with this idea just being inspired by comic books like that. Um, it's set in my own world. It's my own story, my own characters. Um, some characters are based off of actual people like you. Um, but it's set in the world where there's like 20 large scale dojos. They're subject to a ranking system. They take commissions from the government. They act as the military, but it's not the same as the American military, where the government owns the military. Instead, in my comic book, the guardianship owns themselves, and they just take commissions from the government. And so, they have a ranking system, and the two highest branches, the leaders of those branches, are best friends. And when information about corruption is given to one of those leaders, that leader goes and tries to form an alliance with the other leader. So, and that's why it's called top two, the top two branches. And pretty much when they decide to try to stand up against this corruption, the decisions that they make lead to huge unintended consequences. But there's like deeper, darker forces that play at the same time. So it gets really interesting as the series goes on. It's going to be a pretty big series, so I can guarantee that.
All right. So, your character designs, they all have kind of the same aesthetic, the look and feel. I mean, they fit correctly in that world. It kind of reminds me of like urban samurai a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh, I
yeah,
love
that's
that.
it. I love the fact that you said that too, because that's pretty much base. That's pretty much what I was going for. So yeah.
Okay. So, when you're designing a character, I mean, I look at them, you can put them in kind of a silhouette, and you could still distinctly um, tell, who's who, which
Mhm.
character is which. So they don't, fall into that same category to where everybody looks the same.
I know exactly what you mean. Yep, I know exactly what you mean. Oh well, I'll let you continue. But
Well,
yeah, I
I
know
was
what
just
you
kind of
mean.
going to ask what was, I guess, your thinking behind every individual character. I mean, as a whole, you don't have to break it down to all your different characters.
See, it's funny because like whenever I design a character, I usually consider their personality, I consider their powers, I take everything into consideration. So it's like before I even start drawing, I already have an idea of how I want them to look. I have an idea of how I want them to dress or how I want them to be dressed. Um, and that really goes in well with the personality that I come up with for them. Um, the funny thing, I have some on my Patreon page. I have a lot of time lapse videos of me actually designing these characters. Oftentimes, like what you'll see is like I'll draw it and then I'll erase and then I'll draw again because it's like I have the image in my head, but sometimes when I draw it, don't come out exactly what I had in mind. So I have to erase it and do it again because I want to get that image that I have.
Hmm.
It's like, and that's what makes my character design different from a lot of other people. Some people will draw the character multiple times with multiple different haircuts, with multiple different eye colors, with multiple different lip styles, with multiple different noses. And I respect the way they do that, but to me that takes too much time for me, you know. So for me, I already have the image. I sit back and I think, okay, I want this character to look this way, but I don't want to do all that extra, you know. But because I already have the image in my head anyways, it's kind of easy for me to put it on paper and I get it done pretty quickly. And when I do get it done, I'm satisfied. I'm like, that's the exact image I had. So that's pretty much how I do that.
Okay. So I noticed with your characters, you do kind of a, battle ready look and feel, but you also have more of a relaxed feel to them as well. Kind of a dress down, so they're not always, in that combat uh,
Hmm.
gear. What's the thinking behind that?
Whenever I design them, I always start off I always design their battle gear. That's the main thing that I'm concerned about is the battle gear. Usually the casual dress. Casual dress is pretty it's pretty easy to design. Um Usually and for any aspiring artist out there, reference material is everything. It's the most awesome thing in the world because it just helps you create so much better. And so like usually I'll Google images and try to get reference material for Japanese dress or ancient Japanese dress or um I'll try to mix that dress with other cultures and it's like I just look up all types of stuff and I pretty much work around the idea of how I want the casual dress to look in that particular country in my comic book series. So the casual dress is pretty much just it's easy to pretty much do based off of that. Um, but yeah, where I put most of my effort into is designing like a lot of the action outfits or the field outfits. Is what I like to call it. But yeah, or the battle outfits. So
Do you actually like create like a Pinterest board with all the different reference material for each character, or do you just kind of pull it into a pool and like?
actually, I don't know. I don't have a Pinterest board. I usually just when I find a certain design I like or a style that I like, I'll save it and I'll just have that picture specifically for that character. Once I'm done like designing their outfits, then I no longer need the reference material. So usually I'll just let the reference material go after that. But yeah, I'll get like let's say for example, I want her to be dressed in like a emo dress, like a modern day emo dress. Then
Mhm.
I'll look up rocker chick dresses, I'll look up emo dresses, I'll look up all types of dresses really. And then I'll sit back and I'll look at them all and I'll find aspects of each one and then I'll start to mix and match to figure out what I want, how I want this character to look. And then after I get done with that, I'll usually just discard the reference material because I no longer need it. And I pretty much do that with every character, find like reference material to figure out how I want them to dress.
Okay. Now the pose for each character when you're designing it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not the same pose for every character. There's so much that seems to go into just designing how they stand.
Yeah,
Where does that come in?
that comes from me. Another comic book artist I'm a huge fan of. I don't know her name. Shame on me. I should know her name, but it's the woman who draws Saga. Saga is one of those series that I really do like. Um, I guess the reason why I don't know the artist name is because I'm horrible at names in the first place. But when I was in college, um, my professor had asked us to write about someone who inspires us and on what we want to do. Even at that time, I wanted to be a comic book illustrator, and so like I looked her up and I found out some interesting facts about her. I found out that one of the things that she likes to do is she likes to use herself as reference for her poses. And that's the reason why her poses look so realistic, why her poses have so much flow and emotion behind them. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm like, why have I never thought of that? Once I started doing that, my pose work improved tremendously. And so like every single poses I've done myself. And I usually do the poses based off of once again my characters like personalities and who they are.
Okay. So, how do you actually put together an outline um, for your characters?
Like what do you mean by out?
Well, with all your characters, they all have, that distinct style and everything. You talked about, pulling reference material. What about the other stuff? How does that personality trait actually play into the design of the fabric, the shape of the body? Just
Oh, that's pretty much that's pretty much another thing that I already have like I've already made a decision about. Um because usually actually sometimes yeah, their personality do dictate their body type as well. But sometimes I just decide that I want them to look a certain way. Like some characters I want them to look more muscular. Other characters I feel like they would fit better in the story if they were thinner. It also has a lot to do with their ability, what their abilities are in the comic book series. If they have like more like a combat ability, they have a tendency to be more muscular. As a matter of fact, like a lot of my guardian characters, because that's what the military people are called. They're called guardians. A lot of them have a tendency to be very muscular because they pretty much have to be, but not all of them. You know, all of them.
mhm.
Ha- some of them have a little bit more weight on them, but they're just as strong as the others. But their personality also dictates how their body type works. And this is where a lot of thought goes into designing a lot of my characters. But for the most part, it's usually just whatever I think, whatever I feel like I want them to look like, whatever I feel like I want their body type to look
How do you decide what powers they have?
like. That's funny because from the very beginning, I even I have a list of powers. Like every time I come up with a new idea for the powers, I put it on the list. And so like now I have a list of powers and what those powers do. There's a lot of interesting powers. Some of the powers are more stronger than others. Sometimes the character placement for those powers is random, and sometimes I decide, okay, this power would work very well for this character for this specific reason because it works in the story better. But yeah, I usually do a list of powers first, and then when I get ready to design the character, I'll look at the list of powers and decide what I want that character to have. And sometimes I already know when I first design the characters. For example, Cole and Michael, I didn't even know what powers I wanted them to have. They're the two protagonists. They're the two leaders. I didn't even know what powers I wanted them to have. It was literally random with them. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make him with wind power and I'm gonna make him with lightning power. And that was it. Everybody else a little bit more thought went into it. And I'm totally fine with that because it's in my comic book. It's not really about what your power is. It's about how you use your power and how you master your power. Anybody can take a power that seems weak or seems like nothing and make it to the into the most powerful thing in the world just simply because they've mastered it and they know how to use it better than anybody else knows how to use their powers. So That's that's one of the things that's going to make the series really interesting is how these characters actually use the powers that they have.
Okay. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask you about is lighting. When you're drawing out everything, you seem to have your lighting coming in at a certain angle, which creates certain shadows.
Mhm.
How does that actually play into like the personality and your character type itself?
Boy, um, I remember when shadow work used to be extremely difficult for me. I couldn't I couldn't figure out shadow work at all when I first started on this journey. Um I've been drawing since I was a kid, so um I didn't really learn about shadow work until I went to college. Um I learned about highlights, I learned about uh dark shadows, mid shadows. I learned about all of that. And so from there I just got better and better with it. In the series, you'll notice that as time goes by, the shadow work actually gets better and better. That's partly why, because I just want to throw this in there real quick. That's partly why issue 8 is taking me longer because the first scene is in the dark. It's a night scene, so a lot of shading and all of that stuff goes into stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I'm very proud of how it's coming out so far. I've went above my own expectations, so I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to when it comes to releasing it and when I finally complete it. That's the only way I can really explain like how I got to the point where I was able to do shadow work better. As far as as far as how I go about drawing my shadow work, because I usually use the hash line method. And I just love using the hash line method. The background, even now, I use the hash line method with the backgrounds in issue 8. And it's actually coming out pretty good. But I've always loved to use that sideways hash line method. And
Hmm.
I just think it makes my stuff look more interesting. It makes it look more fun and exciting.
All
And
right,
then
I can agree with that.
it also brings
Uh,
out the emotion in the characters better and stuff. I really enjoy it.
so I love watching your videos on your Patreon page, where you're actually doing all the, your concept art, your character designs, everything. What made you, I guess, want to do that on Patreon? I mean, I've seen a lot of people that are like, "Hey, here's just the next page on Patreon." You actually give a lot more insight into your process there. What was the thought process, uh, allowing people to allowing people to see your thought process?
Incentive. I mean, I feel like it's only fair that I'm asking you to support me monetarily on a monthly basis, and I'm like, I have to give you something to compensate for that. And so I'm like, I want to go above and beyond because like it's not just I don't just want to get my comic book out there for people to read. I want to inspire people too. I want other comic book artists to realize that I can do that too. You know what I'm saying? When I first started, it was all about proving to myself that I could do it. It wasn't about proving to anybody else. I didn't really care. It was about proving to myself. I'm like, I've always wanted to do it. What's holding me back? Fear. Fear was holding me back. So I was like, it's time for me to prove to myself that I can do this. And so when I first started, I was shaky. You know what I'm saying? It it was good, but it wasn't to me, it wasn't great. And so I just kept working at it. I got better and better. I got more and more confidence, and now it's great. Now it's above my expectations, and I love doing what I'm doing. So as far as Patreon goes, I just want to share as much as I can and give as much incentive as I can so that a lot of my followers, though, especially those who need some inspiration, will be able to see my process and get ideas on how it might be able to improve their process. And so just so they can grow from that. and so that they can enjoy watching me draw. I enjoy
I
one,
gotta
so I
say,
want them to enjoy.
I love watching it. Like there's sometimes like I'll rewind little segments like, oh, how did he do that hand? That was
Yeah,
really cool. Or uh, there was one where the character design was not symmetrical, but it worked. Like I love how it worked. It's just that's so cool.
yeah.
So
Thank you for that.
we'll have a link to the your Patreon page in the description below.
Cool.
Uh,
That works.
what software do you actually use to actually create your character designs?
I use a manga studio. It's called Clip Studio Art now. Clip Studio Paint. That's what it's called. They changed it from Manga Studio. Sometimes it gets on my nerves. Just like, technology period can get on our nerves sometimes. But at the end of the day, it is a great program, especially for drawing comic books. It makes drawing comic books so much easier. I've never been a fan of a lot of the other programs, especially the other programs that I've used in college. Photoshop is a great program, but I don't think it's really a comic book program. I think it's more for design.
Uh, it's
But
not exactly cost effective either.
oh
That
yeah,
that program, it's a one time buy, right?
oh yeah, yeah. But Manga Studio is a one time buy. I mean, clip. What did I just say? I
Clip
said
Studio Paint.
thank you. Yes, it's a one time buy. Um, and I think you can log in on there because I have an account on there and I'm able to log in and just start drawing. But yeah, it's a one time thing. And it's a really great program. It makes drawing comic books way easier. And specifically, it makes drawing manga easier. But you could do comics, just like regular American comics as well. But it's a great program. I would highly recommend it.
Now, how does let me figure out how to word this. With human anatomy, I notice a lot of people kind of struggle with making the characters look too stiff, but yours has a really natural flow to each individual character. How do you practice actually drawing the human anatomy?
Hmm. Uh, I can show you. There's this book by Michael Hampton. See, this book right here. I don't know if I can get it too
It's
well. Yeah, there it is.
figure drawing, design, and it's hard to read that last word there.
It's a figure drawing, design, and invention. And
Okay.
it's by Michael Hampton. This book was recommended to me, and I got it. This guy is fantastic at drawing human anatomy. So it's like along with this book and with me also like doing references of my own body and stuff. That's how I got as good as I got at it. I've been practicing drawing poses, like I said, since I was little, but for the most part, like I said, reference. And it's even more effective when you do the reference yourself. Um, Not only that, but I mean, life is messy. I mean, get messy with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, don't draw, don't try to draw too stiff. Don't try to get everything extremely perfect. Just get messy with it, and then put the building blocks together afterwards.
Uh, with a lot of designs that I've done in the past, I started adding almost too much detail. I wanted this little thing in there. I wanted this, and then by the time I got done, it was just too much. There's no way I'd be able to kind of replicate that work in individual panels over and over again.
Hmm.
How do you know when you've added enough detail, and how do you know when you've hit that uh, too much detail section?
Well, it's detail is all about the feel and the emotion in that scene. Um, if the feel is outrageous or intense, then you want more detail. If it's not that intense, if it's soft and laid back, like if the character's just sitting back chilling in a chair, then they don't need that much detail. It's just light detail. But if they get this like angry, really intense look, it's like a very intense moment, then I add a lot more detail. Um, I used to struggle with how much detail to put at one point. And I would put way too much detail, and I would look back at it, and I would be like, "Oh my God, what the heck was I doing?" It's like specifically with clothing, because clothing can be pretty difficult to draw, especially loose clothing that has a lot of wrinkles
Mhm.
in it. Um, but it's all like it's all about growth. It's all about mastering your own style. For some people, too much detail works perfectly because that's just their style. Um, for other people, they don't like detail at all. Me, I'm detail oriented. My detail more, I do more detail, like I said, with intense scenes, and I do less detail with less intense or more softer scenes or panels. And so, I feel like I've pretty much mastered the the detail area on how much to put or how less to put. But I do still have those moments where I get so much into drawing that I forget and I start to put too much detail again. I'm like, Cardell, calm down, calm down. And so, but I mean, it's hard not to get into those moments sometimes. Sometimes you just really get into it, but yeah, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of practice, and eventually you start to calm down a bit and figure yourself out, and whether you're detail oriented or not, you know.
Now, when you're designing a new character, I know there's a lot of thought that goes into it as far as what uh, what's it called? What group they're going to be in, their status within that group, um, their powers, their personality. Are there any particular scenes that you have like in mind when you're actually designing a character?
Oh yes, there's one character. She's like almost like one of my favorites. Her name is Katrina. Um, my latest post on Facebook was of her. Um, because the issue I'm working on now, I'm actually working. She's actually in these scenes, and there's this like really intense scene that I drew her in. When I designed her, I already knew that scene that she was going to be in that scene. Um, so that may have had some influence in her design. Um, and that do be the case with certain characters. It's like I will start designing them, and I already know exactly what point in the story, like, because I already have a lot. I have just about all of the story mapped out. Now it's just about filling it with all the little details. It's the little details that be the most annoying. But oftentimes when I do design characters, I already have a specific thought or a specific scene or um part in the story that I want them to play. And so it's like, and it's usually very intense scenes. And like I said, yes, that does somewhat influence like how they dress or what their personalities will be like.
Now that you're more experienced with designing your characters, you've been doing this for a while now.
Hmm.
Have you ever wanted to go back and redesign an old character, or is that, you know, I'm done with that, need to move on?
I've never had a desire to redo any characters. I'm satisfied with all of them. Um, however, as the story progresses, um, certain characters will change their hairstyle. certain characters will become more mature. Um, Certain characters will adopt a new battle outfit. Um, there are there's quite a bit that's going to change as the series goes by because of character growth and development. Um,
So that is actually pushed by the story, not just
yes,
I wanted to redesign this character.
yeah, that's pushed by the story.
Okay.
As far as me wanting to redesign, nah. Like I'm pretty much satisfied with how every character looks. I usually won't stop designing them until I'm satisfied. If I'm not satisfied, I'll keep going and being like, no, this doesn't look right. This has to look different. But once I'm satisfied, then that's it.
So as mentioned before about your Patreon, your audience actually can become a character within your story
Yes.
on that tier. That is such um an awesome benefit. Uh, it's really cool because you actually send them the video like here's your character being designed and
Mhm.
everything. That's both me and my daughter Cadence are actually going to be in your comic. So I have both. It's so awesome to see because we look just like the characters. At least in my case, I look a lot better in your comic. Thank you, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no problem.
so opening that up to your audience, that's almost kind of dangerous, isn't it? Like you might get somebody that's
Yes,
cool.
yes. See, I'm not gonna lie, that is a little scary. Um, that's why I have a like 10-person limit on there. Um, because I don't want too many people trying to do it all at once. Because
Mhm.
I won't be able to keep up with that. I gotta, it takes work to design these characters. Of course, I have help because I have you as an individual. I have you send me pictures of the face from different angles so I can draw your character. Um, the character's name is easy. The character will have your name. Um, I even let you choose your power. However, that power has to have limitations. I can't make you all powerful. Um,
So I can't
but
just be God, I mean, that's not fair.
it's unfortunate, but that's the case. Um, but um, yeah, that was something I did consider. I was like, yeah, that is pretty dangerous, but I do have a lot of characters I have to design for the future. Like I said, it's going to be a big series, so there's plenty of spots that can be filled. Um, I will say this: once I reach a certain amount, then I'll remove that tier. So it's like if it's something anybody is interested in, I would say jump on it now. And I give no guarantees that your character will be done within a month or nothing like
Hmm.
that. That those character designs do take time. And for the most part, if your character won't be appearing until, let's say for example, your character won't appear until issue 15, then I'm not going to be in an extreme rush to design your character.
Hmm.
Um, Mainly the main times that I would design like characters like that is after I finish in the current issue. Like right now I'm working on issue 8. And if I had a couple of people jump on the character design tier, I would work on their characters after I finish issue 8 because um I feel like with the amount of detail that's going into issue 8, I've spent quite a bit of time on it already. And so I'm ready to knock this one out and get it out to my followers and stuff. Um, but yeah, usually I take a small break between issues, and those will be the times when I would do those like types of character designs and stuff, because that's when
Okay.
I'll have more time.
So everybody listen up. Those make great holiday gifts. If you could put your loved one into a comic book, how cool is that?
Mhm.
Or get yourself into a comic book. So, what is your actual process, from start to finish, creating a character? I noticed there's a lot of like the grayscale in there. You block it out quite a bit. How do you actually start to finish create a comic or a comic character?
First, what I start off with is I start off with how the character is going to look. I do their profile first. So I'll do a front view of their face, a side view of their face, like a complete side, then like a halfway side view of their face. Um, I already, like I said, I already have the idea of how I want them to look. It's literally just figuring out how the hairstyle is going to be, um, the eye color, if they have any like special accessories on their face. Like I got one character who got these like metal clips around their eye, whether their eyes are going to be unique, like little flecks in their eyes or something like that. Um, and so I'll draw that out. That's the first thing I do. Once I have the profile picture done, then I'll do the outfit design. Usually the outfit design, the new way I do the outfit design is I do three different poses. Um, one pose from the back, one pose somewhat from the side, and one pose from the front, and they're all unique poses. And I'll draw the outfit. Like I said, I already have the outfit in my mind how I want it to look. And I'll go ahead and I'll draw the outfit in each one of those poses so we can get a view of how the outfit looks from the front, from the back, and from the side. Um, After that, I'll usually, well, I used to do that, but one of the things that I would do is I would do a profile expression pages. And what that includes is, oh, actually, it's on my TV.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's like I'll do three profile expressions where the character is making different expressions based off of their personality, like the man that you just saw. After that, I will do a pose page. Pose pages are usually like sometimes they're just relaxed poses, but sometimes they're in like action poses. It all depends on once again the character's personality. And once I do the pose picture, that's pretty much when the character is complete. That's the character. That's who the character is. For the benefit of my patrons and for Patreon, I do backgrounds, character backgrounds. But that's something that only goes on Patreon. That's exclusive to patrons only. So, but but yeah, that's the full process of me designing my characters.
all right. Well, where can people actually check out your comic and support you on Patreon?
It's on the top two website. Everything you need to know is on there. I took the time to give instructions on how to follow the series, the best way to follow the series. The two primary ways is Patreon and CryptoComics. Um, CryptoComics is the exclusive platform that I'm planning on using. However, issues 1 and 2 are on Comixology. I can't figure out how to get them off. I've given up trying to take them off. Um, but including those two, everything else is on CryptoComics. The first volume will be coming out, and that will be on CryptoComics as well. And when issue 8 comes out, that'll be on CryptoComics. So, um, but the best way to find out all the information, like all the social media, all the, even CryptoComics, even my Square store, is to go on www.top2bycsc2.com. Top 2 is the number 2 by CSC2 number 2.com, and it's all one word. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that notification bell so you know when we're coming live with another video. And Cardell, thank you so much for joining us. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
and don't forget to like us on Facebook, Top 2 Comic Book.
Amen to that. Okay. All right, everybody. Take care. Thank you.
All right, later.
All right. So we're here with Cardell Cole. How you doing?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
You got to redo it. Your voice cut out right when you said Cardell.
Ah.
Like really bad.
Well, how do you know when you've hit too much, Mark?
That was a lesson that was pretty on point.
Oh, we dropped you for a second. Hold on.
Oh,
He might still be froze. Can you hear us, Cardell?
Cardell?
yeah.
He's
okay.
Oh, okay.
Hello? Yeah.
Hey, okay, you can just continue. We'll just edit this part out. Give me.
Okay, so what was the question again? I got kind of mixed up when that happened.
Okay.